Welcome to the Bark Night Podcast. This is Patrick.
And I'm Dan.
And we're going to talk about some movies today. So,
Sure.
This is the 46th episode.
Almost there.
And
to 50.
We really thought we were going to be talking about so many movies today, but it turns out we're mainly just talking about Ballerina. Because of limited options for things in our area. So, yeah, we're gonna jump into Ballerina.
Right. Yeah, Life of Chuck wasn't out around here. Dangerous Animals was only open at the one theater in the city, and I couldn't make it there. So.
Yeah, I couldn't get to Life of Chuck here either. It wasn't available at any of the theaters in Virginia Beach that I could find. I even looked at like the little art house ones, nowhere to be found. So
weird.
That's gonna have to wait till next week when it releases wide. So, yeah, that was the thing, is it releases limited this weekend, and then this coming weekend it releases everywhere. So I guess we're gonna have to go with everywhere.
Prestige worldwide.
Yep. And The Ritual. So we had talked about possibly going to see The Ritual with Dan Stevens and Al Pacino, and I looked over the weekend to see what the ratings were for it. And Dan, I think I sent this to you.
Yeah, it's bad. It's a 0, right?
What did I send it? Was it Rotten Tomatoes?
Yeah, I think it's a 0.
Yeah. The critic score was a 0% with 31 reviews. I think it's gone up since then, but at the time it was really bad.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was like, you know what? I'm not going to waste my time with that.
We both like Dan Stevens, but a 0% movie is going to take... I'm not going to rush to see it.
No, I'm not going to waste my... I got valuable time and money I could be spending right now.
Yes.
But yeah, so let's jump into Ballerina. Okay, so Ballerina, it's the latest in the John Wick franchise. It is aptly titled From the World of John Wick.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Yeah, it's very clunky.
It's so clunky.
So it's directed by Len Wiseman, who everybody knows as the director of Underworld Evolution, Live Free or Die Hard, and our favorite, the Total Recall remake.
Oh. Yeah. Live Free or Die Hard was fun.
Yeah, although it was the only PG-13 one in the franchise.
Yeah, but it was also not... It wasn't ass like the one that followed it, though.
No, but it was like a considerable downgrade from Die Hard with a Vengeance.
Oh, sure.
I mean, that's kind of the thing, right? With each one of those, they get like gradually worse.
Gradually. I mean, yeah, you start off... It's like, well, to an extent, it's kind of like Jaws. Jaws. Jaws, you start off so high, and then... Well, I mean, those sequels are just kind of real bad. It's a bad comparison, but it's hard when you have a really good first movie to make a franchise that's reasonably good.
Yeah, Die Hard with a Vengeance is really awesome.
It is. And I like 2. I like Die Hard 2, too.
Yeah, Die Hard 2 is good. It fits in well with the first one, too.
Yeah. And then the Live Free or Die Hard's fun, and then A Good Day to Die Hard is terrible. Like
very bad.
No reason to watch it ever again. Kind of bad.
Yeah, I own that on Blu-ray, too.
But that's not what we're talking about.
That's not what we're here to talk about, although, you know, it all does feed into that idea. Yeah. But, so for this, we got a budget of $90 million. Over the weekend, it took $25 million in the U.S., behind Lilo & Stitch, which took another 31, so it came in second place in the U.S. And it took $51 million worldwide. So it's got a ways to go, but...
The 51 worldwide's nice.
That is not bad. So we'll see. You know, it's really going to depend on how it does next weekend, because, you know, that first weekend drop can be it can make or break whether this is going to make any money or not.
And as we kind of said, like, this is the first of the spin-off part of the universe, which they made sure to tell you is right in the title there. But like, this will kind of decide, I don't want to say the fate of the John Wick universe, but if this movie doesn't do well, you know how movies go. You know how Hollywood likes their money.
Yeah, and actually, so it's the first movie spin-off, but they
That's
did
true.
do
That's a show.
Continental, which only lasted a season, and by all accounts was not a good show. I've read the reviews on it. Everybody says it's bad. Chad Stahelski, who directed all 4 of the John Wick movies, said that basically it was a cash grab, and the producers were like, hey, we think we've got the secret sauce for this, but then they didn't invite him or any of the creative team behind the John Wick movies to do that show, and that's why he thinks it failed, because they didn't actually involve anybody from that. It doesn't have the same style.
Right.
It looks very much like not good. Even Ian McShane was even talking about it. He said that him and Lance Reddick had discussed sort of what they thought the history was with their characters.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, what they did there didn't match up whatsoever with what we had planned. And he said that the fact that they never thought to even talk to them was, he was basically shitting on the movie nonstop.
Well, that's fair. And like you can't have a secret sauce and like, not put the mayonnaise with it. You gotta make sure it all works.
Yep.
I mean, that kind of reminds me of like when they did Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. as a spin-off, like the MCU, but then it didn't really like tie in to anything and have any like stakes or meaning for being, other than money, other than a cash grab.
Yeah. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. ended up being pretty decent, though.
I didn't dislike it. Yeah, I didn't dislike it, but also, like, do you remember it? Do you go back to it ever? Or just kind of like I watched it? Yeah.
It's way too long. It's back in that, like, 24 episode seasons or something, 22, 24. And there's, like, 7 seasons. I don't even know if I ever even finished it, to be honest with you.
I know I finished it, but I couldn't tell you what the last few seasons had happened. It's just kind of those autopilots, just kind of like, just to get it done.
Yeah. Too much to keep up with.
Right.
So one thing that can really help this movie going in is that overall it's got pretty positive reviews. IMDb, we got 7.3 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes, we've got critics at 75, audience at 93.
Yep, that checks.
Metascore, 53 out of 100. So Metascore,
always
per usual,
random. Yep.
Does not like it. Cinemascore, A-.
It was an A. A-. Okay, I thought it was an A.
Yep. And threads and overall conversations that I've seen in the interwebs, overall positive. A lot of people are super into it. Yeah, so let's jump into the reviews. So I've got a lot to say. Some good, some not good.
Sure.
So, I'm always stealing your thunder, Dan. So I'll
my
pass
thunder.
it over to you to let us know what you think first.
Yeah, you gotta steal my thunder. This is your show. I'm just the lightning. You're the thunder. Yeah, no, so, yes, as Pat said, the 5th movie in the John Wick movie-verse, we'll say. Continental exists, but I don't think we have to worry about that anymore. So, it centers around Ana de Armas, and she's, like, her life and how she became involved with the Roscoe Roma. That's what they're called, right? Roscoe Roma? I made that backwards.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. And it shows her growing up to be an assassin, in the same vein as John Wick. Very kind of a not a threadbare plot, but very much a just, revenge theme plot. As her family's involved. I'll be vague about it. Family's involved with this other cult that is also working in the assassin's world, but they're not assassins. They don't really explain that too greatly, but basically this other cult is after her after they killed her parents, so to say, and then she ends up with the Roscoe Roma and becomes an assassin herself, and that's the basic gist of it. And it's, as I said, kind of not like threadbare, like that seems mean, but the story's not super involved, and you're there to watch the action, and when it pops off real well, and it's a thoroughly enjoyable experience. I do think it's a bit below the 4 John Wick main movies, but not by much. Like it's in the same kind of vein as like Nobody or Sisu or something else, like those other revenge uber violent movies that come out the last few years. And I had a good time with it. I really enjoyed Ana de Armas. I thought she did great. Ian McShane's always good to see on screen, even though he didn't have too much to do. Lance Reddick popped in, and I remembered that the movie got delayed. I'm like, oh, how is he in here? Then I remembered it got delayed, so that explains it. But yeah, just overall enjoyed it. Had a good time in the world. I think Ana de Armas did a really good job with the character. She's not quite the same level of physicality as Keanu, but she does good enough, I think. So that's what I think. What about you, my friend?
Okay, so I didn't really like it.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I had a lot of problems with it, actually. So
all right, lay them out.
I agree with most of what you said. So Ian McShane, Ana de Armas, Lance Reddick, all of them are great. They, Ian McShane, I feel like, is kind of like the heart and soul of the movie.
Yeah.
At this point, especially with this is the last the last we're going to see of Lance Reddick in these movies.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
So having Ian McShane there is great. He really helps to ground everything and make you feel like, okay, they got this. I'm going to start with talking about what I liked about the movie.
Go for it.
So, Ana de Armas, just like you said, she is great. She's a great actress. She's done a lot of movies that are really up there for me. You know, I love her in Blade Runner. I love her in Knives Out.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I was going to say that one.
And I would love to see her continue in this role. The fight choreography is decent.
It's a bit off, though, right? Yeah.
It's off. It's a little bit clunkier than it was in the past, but like it's better than most movies. And what they really nail is the style. There's a unique style to the John Wick movies with the bright colors and like the scene where they're in that club at the beginning where it's like her first mission.
Oh, purpley.
The bright colors in there, the club that they have set up where it's got like the colors on the side of the building. All that stuff is great. They really nail that, you know, and I think a big part of that is it comes down to the fact that, I mean, they basically just had to copy it. You know, this is the style that Chad Stahelski and his team over there came up with. And they're like, okay, stick to that. Stick to what we know. Stick to the visual style that is this movie, you know? And by and large, just like you said, they stick to that. They stick to the formula. It's a bare bones revenge thriller.
Right. And,
you know, I mean, by and large, it's very similar plot to the first John Wick movie, right?
Yeah.
Minus except it's the first mission followed by, you know, a small time jump and then more, you know, like, okay, she's a little bit more experienced now.
Right.
But, yeah, I mean, all that stuff is great.
What you didn't like?
Now, there's some things I noticed while I was watching this, that all of this, it comes down to, this movie is better than a lot of other action movies. I'll give it that.
Right.
But it's part of the John Wick franchise.
Right.
And the John Wick franchise has set a bar for these things that this movie has to meet, right?
Right.
And so it just doesn't hit that bar for me. Now, one of the things I immediately noticed was, holy shit, there is some bad CGI in this movie. Like, utterly horrible. And I noticed it very quickly. So, did you remember I'm going to describe some scenes here.
Yeah.
And I'll try not to spoil too many things. You've seen it. I've seen it. I don't know if anybody's going to make it this far if they haven't seen the movie already. But if you don't, if you're going to keep going, I'm going to describe some scenes. So, when she comes out of that hotel, I love the idea that she comes out and you just see the aftermath of what happened in there. That's a really cool idea, right?
Mm-hmm.
She gets in her car to drive away, and she starts driving away. And I'm looking at the cars out there that are, like, driving down the streets, and I'm like, why do all these cars look weird? And then I'm like, holy shit, every car that's driving in this scene is a CGI car. And I'm like, okay.
Oh, okay. I know what you're talking about now.
Yeah, and then I'm like, okay, whatever. You know, that's not that big of a deal. But then somebody jackknifes her and hits her car and starts pushing her at the screen, and I'm like, oh my god. Like, now it looks really bad. And, like, yeah, so I don't know if you noticed this, and I guess you didn't notice all of this in your theater. It looks so bad, and then there's this weird cut at the end of it, and all of a sudden she's out of the vehicle.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what is going on?
Yeah, she's out of the vehicle and her feet are scraping in the floor. You're like, not the floor of the road. And you're like, that's kind of a weird way to get out of the car. But
really weird. Like, it almost looked like maybe they shot it.
There's another scene in there they cut out. Yeah, or that.
That's what it kind of seemed like to me. It's like maybe I don't know. Or maybe it's just all CGI. I don't know. But the one thing that I love about the John Wick movies is that they use CGI so sparingly.
Yes.
And when you see it, it's usually just blood flying in the air or whatever. And they're using lighting very well so that you don't, like, you can tell, like, oh, obviously that's fake blood because I can see it splashing or whatever. But it's the way they use the lighting techniques they cover it all up very well. This was not covered up very well, and
No.
so that was an issue for me. And as the movie went on, I kept noticing more and more and more.
Okay.
Like there was a scene where like she's fighting somebody with an axe,
Mm-hmm.
and you can clearly tell she's not even holding an axe. And it was so bizarre to me because like she's moving around as if like, but it's like the axe, I can see it like jiggling, and then she stabs it into somebody who's on the ground, and it's moving weird. Like I was just like, oh my God, like I'm telling you, like now that I pointed all this out, I might have ruined the movie for you.
No,
because,
no.
The next time you see it, I swear to God, like look for this stuff, and you'll be like, holy hell, like this is some of the worst CGI I've ever seen.
And there's something to that where, as we said, CGI is there to trick the eye. And in that scene you're talking about, I noticed it looked a little wonky, but my brain was just like, oh, whatever, just move past it. And then after that point, I just kind of like accepted what I saw. But you noticed the wonkiness to a different degree than me, and then you're looking for it from that point on, and the bad CGI becomes more prevalent.
Right, and they did it so early, and I noticed it so early that like I did notice it so many times for the rest of the movie.
I didn't. Yeah, I can give you that. I remember like the very end of that scene you talk about with the car being pushed backwards, how it ends. There's a shot of a guy, and something's happened to his face, and it just looks so not right. But I do remember thinking that looked weird, but maybe it was just, as you said, maybe just the CGI is a bit off in the whole thing.
Yeah, and so there was just so many scenes of that, and a lot of the fights were just really clunky in that way, where you're just like, man, you guys really should have involved Chad Stahelski in more of this stuff. Now, one thing that I did see is that Chad Stahelski was brought in to do reshoots on this movie 7 months ago.
Right.
And it was being reported at the time that he reshot a lot. Now, I didn't know that going into this, but like I did notice there were a couple scenes where I'm like, hey, here we are. This is considerably better. And with that being said, I think I know which ones he shot. So
right.
For one, I mean, all my complaints aside, the flamethrower scenes, those are right up there.
Those are really cool. Yeah.
More of that.
What about the grenades?
The grenade scene was cool. I think they used the CGI very well in that scene. And yeah, her going through the whole basement and all those different rooms and throwing grenades, that seemed like a John Wick scene. That was up there. The flamethrower scene, that was up there. Those are good. But it was like that weird car scene, and when she gets to the village and she's running around, and there's just so much in there that's like just kind of wonky. But,
right.
Yeah, the flamethrower scene is, honestly, I could watch that scene over and over again, and part of me is like, next time I watch this, I might just skip ahead to that. Just watch like the last third of the movie,
And that's fair. And yeah, as you said, the flamethrower scene's fantastic. I mentioned it. There's also, before you get to the flamethrower scene, there's a scene where she's looking for weapons and she can't find anything. Then she finds a box full of grenades, and then you have a grenade battle, which is cool to see. But part of you's like, she'd be deaf. Like she definitely lose like all of her hearing forever.
Yeah. One thing I noticed too is that like this stuff, they do it in a way in the John Wick movies where it makes sense at least. And I was a little confused as to how she couldn't get a weapon when she's at the place.
Right. She kept running around.
Weapons are. Yeah. You're here to buy weapons. The guy has all the weapons in the world. Like there's no bullets for these? Like what's the problem? It didn't really explain that well, and I also didn't really buy it,
No,
but like at a certain point I was like, all right, I'm just going to enjoy the ride on this one, but like it didn't really make sense.
No, you're right. She runs around, she grabs a couple guns, like checks the breeches to see if there's anything in there, and then puts them down, and then grabs the box of grenades. And that was supposed to be like, you go, oh, there's no ammo here, but you're right. Like it's a weapon shop. The dude has 1,000 weapons. There's no way there's not bullets there. We've seen the other John Wick movies.
It's not going to be bullets.
Yeah, we've seen the other John Wick movies. We know how these guys work. Like he has bullets.
Right. So like that one like kind of didn't make sense to me. The woman that, spoiler alert, turns out to be her sister.
Oh Jesus.
She knocks her unconscious twice.
Yeah.
There is no reason she got knocked unconscious both of those times. The first time she's like, oh, I just left her for the security to deal with. That doesn't make sense.
Nope.
Why would you do that?
Nope.
Like, you shot the other guy and then you just knock her unconscious. There's literally no reason to do that.
No,
not in
especially
the John Wick world.
Exactly in this world, yeah.
And the fact that in the next scene, all these guys from that cult show up to kill her, it's just like, if
you want her dead, yeah.
If you wanted her dead, you had the chance 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, yeah. I honestly think that whole
she does it again a second time, like literally half an hour later. They capture her and decide just not to kill her again. It makes no sense.
It makes no sense. You're right, and that was something I was going to complain about was the sister storyline. Because we can touch on it. It's not a spoiler because it means nothing.
It means nothing.
It means nothing. Like they put this in here.
I predicted it too. I was like,
did you?
Like probably like 5 minutes before. I was like, this girl's gonna turn out to be her sister. I know it for a fact.
Right.
That's where they're headed with this.
Yeah, they kind of like set her up kind of as like an ancillary villain, like a secondary villain, you know. And then, like you said, she knocks her out twice. Like, oh, she's got to be good at what she does. No, just it's lazy writing. And then they're like, oh, I'm your sister, and then over. Storyline's done. And it's like there was no point to that. That was just filler. Patty.
Well, and you know, one thing that the movie is missing is that secondary villain that is going to be like that main foil for her, and her sister would have been perfect to be it.
But it wasn't.
Because when she gets to the final bad guy, there's no final fight.
No.
You know, there was that whole thing with that one buff dude that she fights with the flame.
The blonde guy, yeah.
But she doesn't even kill him.
No.
John Wick kills him.
Spoilers, but yes.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like...
And also, that was clearly a reshoot, by the way.
100%. I do not think John Wick was in the end of the movie.
No.
Initially. I think he was only in for that, 5-minute cameo at the beginning.
Yep.
And then I think that leads me to believe that Chad Stahelski was like, you're missing something here. People are not going to give a shit about this. We got to put John Wick in here. We got to put this in here. And not for nothing, John Wick showing up does not make sense.
No, it actually hurts the movie, I think.
Yeah, because at this point in the story, he's not on good terms with them. There's no reason they would send him.
I was going to bring that up. It makes no sense. In the story, they're like, this takes place in John Wick Parabellum. I'm like, then why would he be there at all?
Also,
he's either
there's no reason he would have let her go.
No.
When he stops the fight and just lets her go, there is no reason for it.
Yeah.
It's not like she convinced him. The only thing she said was she's like, he killed my father. And he says, I know. He knew that going in.
He knew that going in. What changed his mind?
Why stop now? Yeah, what changed his mind? There's literally, she did not convince him. There's no reason for him not to just kill her right there. If you're going to show up, I don't know. The whole thing did not make sense. And then the mechanism of him being like, you gotta kill him by midnight. Why? Yeah.
No, and then that also makes no sense either, because he's like, you gotta kill him by midnight. He looks at his watch. It says 11:36. And then she spends 3 hours running around the village. Apparently it was 20 minutes. I don't think so, but okay.
And the whole time, they've figured out at this point. John Wick chose not to kill her. They're after John Wick. There's no reason for him to stick to this whole idea of the bad guy dying by midnight at this point. There's no reason to stick to it because they already know that you betrayed him.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I really didn't think about that part, but you're right about that, yeah.
But he does stick to it. And then, at the end there, after she kills the bad guy, he's got his gun trained on her, and he looks at his watch and, does oh, well, that was close. It was almost midnight. It's like, you weren't going to shoot her.
No.
What if it did get past midnight? You were going to shoot her while,
standing next to the bad guy? Yeah.
Yeah, this doesn't make sense.
No, it was, it's definitely, this is all things I was going to talk about. They're all things I had much less of an issue with than you did with, but they're issues. There's things you can bring up. It doesn't make sense.
There were only one or two of these things, I got no issue. And
but they kept
honestly,
going.
When I got out of the movie, I didn't have the issue, but the more I've thought about it today, it bugs me more and more that I'm just man, this just doesn't stack up to the other movies whatsoever.
Now, clearly they brought in Keanu to try to save the movie because apparently, as you said, they had reshoots. Movie got delayed a year. Some test audience somewhere was like, "This sucks ass," and they went scrambling to try to fix it, and they did. They fixed it. I think it's an enjoyable movie, but it's not the same level as the other four. That's why I said it's kind of like Nobody, Sisu level kind of.
Yeah, I think by and large they fixed it enough that I seem to be the only person on the planet that does not like this movie. And
I'm glad you don't like it.
Fine. I don't actively dislike it, but I think it's a solid, I don't know, 6 out of 10.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with that.
maybe 6.5.
But
Last
when it
night,
comes
when I was thinking about it, I was giving it a 7. But this stuff, like, it's
bumped
downgraded
down,
it the more I've thought about it. I was just like, man, just none of that made sense. They complicated it to a point where it's like, this doesn't fit in between the movies in the lore you've established. You hired Len Wiseman to make this movie. You clearly didn't care about it meeting the standard.
Right.
Like, it just all these things. I'm just like, man, you guys, like, this is such a cash grab. That's what it is. You know,
It is.
If it wasn't, they would have brought Chad Stahelski in to oversee all this stuff as an executive producer.
Right. They're trying to franchise it, like they like to do, and they thought they tried to find the easiest way to do it. They didn't want to pay Chad, as you said, so they brought in the other guy. He did a decent enough job with the other action movies, so that's what they were thinking there. That was their thought process. And yeah, you're right. It doesn't make sense. There's, as you said, there's an initial John Wick cameo towards the beginning, which if they would have left it there, fine. It would have fit in with the story of John Wick 3 because he was there meeting with the Rusco, I can't remember the name, Roma, whatever. And if they would have just had that, fine. But then they're like, oh, we're sending him out. It's like, it doesn't fit in. It doesn't. Nothing about him being there makes sense in the grand storyline.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. He's not a gun for hire in those movies. Like,
no. Like, isn't he like excommunicado like immediately in like Parabellum? Like,
yeah.
So, like,
yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
They like burned the thing off his back. Like, you saw that happen at the beginning of this
movie.
Like, he doesn't work for them anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. Why are you going? Like,
yeah.
It doesn't really make sense. But yeah, that was weak. The sister subplot was weak and went nowhere. There was no good ancillary villain, as we said. There was that blonde guy who we were supposed to think was badass, but I think he had like 2 lines and just didn't care about him.
Yeah.
Holly said also like that Ana de Armas would have been broken in half about 20 times. I'm like, well, those are action movies, though. You can't be thinking about that too much.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta accept that part of it.
Yeah.
But and I think it's unfortunate because I really do think that Ana de Armas deserved much better than this.
Right.
As long as it does well, I think, I think she gets another one. So, obviously a ton of people didn't go see this weekend. Sinners, Mission Impossible, those did far better than this in their first weekend.
Oh, yeah.
So, we'll see. But they also had a lot higher budgets. So it's anybody's guess right now as to whether this gets another one or not.
Well,
but they need to involve Chad Stahelski from the get-go in these things. And Len Wiseman, as the director, was not the move. Figuring out afterwards, I didn't realize who he was. I saw his name, and I was like, I recognize that name.
It sounds familiar, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and then seeing that, I was like, oh, he's the guy that did the Total Recall remake. I hate that movie.
That movie's bad.
It sucks.
Actively dislike that movie.
Yeah. But anyways, I don't want to spend too much time. Like, I feel like I sound like I hate this movie. I don't hate it. I just think it's a steep step down. Oh,
agreed.
I almost forgot about something. There's a scene in the village where she takes a guy's arm and like breaks it forward. I've seen so many arms get broken in half in action movies at this point. It is down to a science for these stunt guys. Like, it was the worst arm breaking I'd ever seen. And like it's slowly seeing his arm come back up, and I'm like, why is it like this? Like, why is it doing that? And then you see that like his hand on the end is CGI, and really? I'm like, oh my god, another one.
Like, I gotta look out for this bad CGI. Thursday night was also the night that we had like some stuff going on with the house, so I wasn't super focused on the movie. So maybe that also gave it a pass for my little snail brain.
Yeah. Well, and like I said, it's the main problem with this movie is that it's part of the John Wick franchise, which has set a standard for these things. It has set a standard for sword fights. It has set a standard for breaking arms in half. It has set a standard for all of these things of being like, hey, this is the year you guys could finally win your first Oscar for stunts. This movie ain't doing it.
Maybe the flamethrower.
It's possible. I mean, I'd say just because there's a lack of competition, I bet it gets a nomination. But
I don't know that yet.
You aren't beating what they did in this is not going to beat Mission Impossible.
Oh, yeah,
In
that's true,
fact, if anybody out there is looking for an action movie to watch right now in the theater, go see Mission Impossible instead. That's my opinion.
Right. Do you think so? This is the first year they're doing the best stunt Oscar, huh?
Yeah.
Nice.
I believe so.
I think you're right. I'm excited about that. I really think they should go back and like retroactively give out the award, but I know they won't do that.
It's possible that they are giving people an advance notice on it. 'Cause it's been a while since I read into that. So maybe next year, it's only movies in 2026. I don't recall offhand, but yeah.
Still, it's good that they're doing it. And they should have done it years ago.
It's happening. It's official. So yeah. But yeah, next up for this franchise is the Donnie Yen spinoff, Caine.
That is happening. Okay.
That is happening. It's official. Donnie Yen is going to star, executive produce, and direct it.
Oh, nice.
And Chad Stahelski is attached to produce it.
Oh, good. Perfect.
Yeah, so that's one that I think they're going to be really hands-on with, all the creative team behind that. And it's Chad Stahelski was saying that it's supposed to be like in the style of like Hong Kong Chow Yun-Fat thrillers like that.
Like Hard Boiled? That'd be fun.
Yeah, exactly like that. So it's really going to lean into the martial arts of it. And
awesome.
Yeah, I really liked his character in John Wick 4. I love John Wick 4. So yeah.
And I think that's where like your point needs to be like being home. This isn't a bad movie in your opinion. It's just not the same as the other four.
No, it's exactly. And so with every one of the John Wick movies, I was always so shocked that they were consistently hitting the bar they had established in the other one. And I don't know where the John Wick movies stack up for you, but for me, it's John Wick 4 is my favorite. And then it's the first one, and then it's the third one, and then it's the second. And I like all of them for different reasons. But the fourth one, to me, has the best action. It's like non-stop, the sword fight at the beginning, all these, like, it has so many iconic things.
Right.
The overhead shot where he's got the incendiary rounds. Like, that's
awesome.
one of the best action scenes of the last 20 years.
I should win an Oscar.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the bar that was set by these movies, and it just doesn't hit that bar for me. I was really hoping to be blown away by it, and by and large, all the reviews said I was going to be. I was not blown away.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think I like it a little bit better than you did, but I can see it. I get your point. Going back to what you said about the John Wick franchise, I would definitely say 4 is the best. That was their culmination of everything, and their Avengers Endgame kind of moment, sort of,
Yeah.
But I mean, 1 probably is my second favorite because the first one always is gonna be special, and then 2 and 3 flop them around, or probably the same actually. But
you know why I my only problem with the first one is actually the reason that like the franchise exists is that I just don't like watching dogs die in movies.
Yep.
And that is like it. So I don't watch that movie very often anymore simply because of that. Now the first one is iconic. I think it also suffers from not having a great villain.
Yeah.
There's no villain in that movie that you're like, oh, this guy will take him out.
No, he's just the force of nature of that, really.
Yeah,
I mean, you knew Theon Greyjoy's not going to touch him.
Exactly. Theon Greyjoy and his father, neither one of them are going to stop this guy. And there's not a single moment in the movie where you think, and they never introduce a character that you're like, oh, maybe this guy will.
Right.
Now they do in the other ones. They rectify that in all the other movies.
Yeah, you're right.
And I think this movie kind of it falls into that same thing. Like Gabriel Byrne, he's going to be dead by the end of this movie.
Oh yeah.
There's not a doubt in my mind of that happening. Right.
Yeah. I mean, it's good to see him do something. Like they definitely gave him a role to nail. It's just like they're like, come on screen, be menacing, and get your paycheck.
Yeah, I like Gabriel Byrne. He's great in Hereditary. He's great in End of Days, as he's Satan in that, right?
He is. That's one of my guilty pleasures. Is the End of Days movie.
He's great in The Usual Suspects. So I'm a big Gabriel Byrne fan, and I wouldn't. I say that like I'm like.
Yeah.
I'm a bigger
The
Gabriel Byrne
biggest.
fan than your average movie
Right.
viewer, right? I know a
Right.
lot of his movies. He's a good actor.
Yeah, and he does fine here, but you're right. He's literally just the sneering off camera villain. Like he's not a physical threat. He's not someone who's gonna beat John in a fight or um, Eve in a fight. Almost forgot her name. Uh, but yeah, he's not the physical threat. He's like the brains, right? So if you have like the
Right.
brains type character, you need a brawn. You need some muscle or something that can threaten him. Like Ruby Rose was in one of the movies, or as you said, Caine was in one of the movies, and like those good secondary villains help.
Yeah, Common.
Common, yes, thank you. That was the second one, right?
Yeah, and they do a good job of I think he's in the second and third. I want to say.
I think he's just in the second.
All right, you're probably right. I feel like a lot of times I merge scenes in those two because they came out really close.
Two and
to
three,
each other.
yeah, 2 and 3 in my brain kind of mixed together.
Yeah, I like 3 because of the dogs.
Yeah.
It has dogs. They don't die, and their scenes are awesome.
Yeah.
And that is what, I think really sets those movies apart. You need those things that are hooks. John Wick 4, you've got Hiroyuki Sanada's scene with all of the guys and swords.
Mm-hmm.
All of that hotel, all of those scenes. There's more than one scene. It's not even just one scene. It's like a series of scenes in that hotel. All those are awesome, but it's the overhead view shot. That's the killer one.
Is 3 the one with the big guy used to be an NBA player where he fights him with a book?
Sure.
He's like something. He's like, some kind of. He's like, $24 million. That's a lot of money, John. He's like, not if you can't spend it. And then he fights him with a book.
I don't know. Maybe I know that it's the one with Halle Berry.
No, definitely, yeah. But that's those two, the 2 and 3 mixed together. I think I'm getting mixed together. I think the one I'm talking about is also the one where he's like in the knife museum or something, and they get in the awesome knife throwing fight and everything.
Yeah, and that's the thing. In those movies, you have like scene after scene after scene. It is nonstop. The action is nonstop. You are there was a point in John Wick 4 where I was like, I don't know if I can handle another action scene right now. I feel like my heart might explode if they do another one. And they give you the smallest break, and then
Smallest
it's right back
to
it.
Yeah.
That is what it is. I was completely blown away by every one of the John Wick movies, and that's why. I'm being hard on this one.
As you should. That's your right as a fan. If you don't think it meets up to your expectations, let people know. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, that's what I think. But yeah, so the next up is that Donnie Yen won, and I got high expectations for that. Donnie Yen is very established, and him getting behind the camera and doing the directing duties, I think he's going to make sure that this meets a certain standard. And he was in the John Wick movies, so he knows all the behind-the-scenes things and how they do that. He's going to be working with Chad Stahelski to build the story around this to make sure it fits. But it's also not going to be, it gets to carve out its own future.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's one of the issues here is that they, for whatever reason, mashed this in between 3 and 4, which I don't think does it any favors, right?
I think you're hitting on the head. I think if you think about it, what would make sense in that? That would make sense that if they wanted to do this Caine movie, maybe the studio's like, well, we got to put something else out in between, and that's when this got thrown together.
Yeah,
I bet you that's what happened.
That it's the John Wick team behind Caine, and I think it's just the studio behind this one.
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of implying.
Yeah, that's what I think is going on exactly. And I think they were like, "Hey, Chad, you gotta come help us out with shining this turd with us for a movie."
Damn it, you beat me by a second. But yeah, and then, sorry, just one more thing. It's just they throw that stupid title From the World of John Wick. It's like, just stop forcing it. And then they force John down their throat to try to get you to go see the movie. So they didn't let it breathe and be its own thing, which is, a problem. But I liked it. I had a good time with it, and you not as much. But I don't think you hate it. So
no, I don't hate it.
But Mission Impossible is better.
Mission Impossible is better.
Okay.
And you are extremely impressed by some of the stunts they pull off in Mission Impossible. Whereas this one, I just wasn't that impressed.
I watched
But it does
Novocaine.
have some cool scenes.
Sorry. I watched Novocaine with my parents on Sunday, and I enjoyed that movie better the second time around, I think.
Nice. Glad to hear
Novocaine's that Jack Quaid action movie where he can't feel pain. You got to turn your brain off of that one too. I think I said because it doesn't make sense, but it's fun.
Yeah, I think that it's going for a specific just be ridiculous feel.
Yeah.
I think that one's aiming squarely at the fans of The Boys.
Yeah. Jack Quaid's adorkable. Let's put him in this weird situation.
Yeah. Okay. That's all I got to say about Ballerina. Really, you got anything else?
No. I had a couple plot points I wanted to hit on, and we got through them. So yeah, that sister thing bugged the shit out of me, and I'm glad we touched on that. And it really seems lazy and
It was super lazy.
Like there was a draft of the script where she obviously probably had more to do, but then she just gets revealed and immediately it's over. It's like, what was the point of that?
Yeah. What was the point of it? What was the point of all of
Yeah.
it? Okay, so what else did you watch? You watched anything else over the weekend?
I did. I made the decision, since I couldn't watch those other movies, to go and check out the new Fear Street movie, Fear Street Prom Queen, on Netflix, to just have something else to talk about. And I regret the fact that I did. It sucked. It was a bad movie, and it bums me out.
I've heard pretty universally that everybody hates it.
Yeah, it bums me out because I really liked the Fear Street trilogy. What was it, like 94, 87, 16, 20? Doesn't matter. The first three were enjoyable in their own special way, their own certain way. The first one was like a 90s slasher. The second one was like an 80s slasher. The third one was like a weird 1600. Yeah, and they were fun, and I had a really good time with it. And this one, it felt like they just slapped the Fear Street name on a pre-existing Prom Queens movie idea and said, "Here we go, good enough." Because it doesn't tie into the lore at all. They're just oh, Shady Side kind of sucks. It's honestly I don't know why I said honestly so weird right there, but I did. Honestly. It's honestly like Mean Girls. If Mean Girls was a slasher, which sounds like it should be an interesting idea, but no, there's no interesting characters. There's no really the kills are supposed to be oh, that was crazy, but it's just yeah. You've seen it done better, and it's unoriginal and just bad. And I would say if you had a thought of watching it, don't. Not worth your time. Also, not to specifically pick on someone, but this has gone on long enough. Chris Klein needs to stop acting. Just enough, man. You made your money. You made your impact. You clearly are either just phoning it in or just don't give a crap anymore because you just charisma boy. He's like Dakota Johnson but male.
I don't I think it's. I was actually kind of excited to see Chris Klein being in something again, but hearing that he's just awful in it, it's that kind of makes sense. Actually,
it tracks, right? Outside of Just Friends, I really like him in, but the rest of the time he's just kind of played either the same character or just a shit version of some other character.
Did you ever see the movie Rollerball with him in it?
I did, yeah.
That is a bad movie.
That is a bad movie, but it's kind of so bad it's good in a couple parts. A little bit.
So
plus it has Rebecca Romaine's in it, right?
Yeah.
That's why I watch it multiple times.
Remember when they have it's a 20-minute scene where it's all night vision?
Yeah.
And there comes a point where you're like, all right, guys, let's wrap
this
up.
We get it. Let's roll past this, please. Yeah. But yeah. So Fear Street Prom Queen, very disappointing. Very honestly, it made me annoyed I wasted my time on it. At a certain point, I thought about turning off, but I wanted to see if my hunch on who the killer was right, and it was. And I just again, it's that was so obvious. Clearly it was this person, but whatever. It was bad. It was a bad time, and yeah, if you've had mixed thoughts about watching it, don't skip it. See, I can be negative.
Yeah,
Adam.
Yeah. I'm very negative.
Right.
Apparently. Okay, so I watched one over the weekend that I absolutely loved. So let's talk about that for a moment. Predator, Killer of Killers.
All right.
Directed by Dan Trachtengerg, who did 10 Cloverfield Lane. Prey
Love it.
and the upcoming Predator Badlands. He directed it with Joshua Wasung. It's animated. It debuted on Hulu over the weekend, and it was awesome. Dan, you need to watch this movie. If you are looking for the thing that's going to blow you away, this is the thing.
Okay.
It is so cool. It was developed in Unreal Engine, which I assume you know what that is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a video game.
Yeah, so you can make video games with it. You can make just videos with it, and 3D animations and everything. And yeah, man, I was completely blown away by this, and the audiences were too, because it got 7 point. I typed this wrong. It just says 7 point nothing, but I think it was 7.7 on IMDb, and Rotten Tomatoes had a 97%.
Ooh.
From critics and a 90 for audiences. Cinemascore at a 78, and everybody on Threads is absolutely pumped about this thing, and for good reason.
7.7.
7.7. I knew I remembered it right. So yeah, I mean, so you've got your three main stories in this of Vikings, samurai, and a pilot in
World War One.
It's either World War I or World War II. I didn't quite grasp that part of it. But they kill it with this. All three are very good. I do have my favorites. But
it's animated, too.
It's all animated. And it's all extremely well done. And the Yautja that they have in it, they're all awesome. They set up some really cool lore. And honestly, man, I was completely blown away by this thing. You need to watch this so we can talk about it.
All right,
and
I'll watch it tonight.
Basically, when this was done, I was like, okay, this franchise is in good hands.
Yeah,
I clearly see where they're going with the franchise now, and I'm like, okay, yeah, this is good. This is really good.
I'm excited about that. Honestly, you told me it came out. I meant to watch it. Saturday didn't exist. Like, I woke up Saturday morning, it was Saturday night, and I was exhausted. And then Sunday, I went to my parents' house, and we just watched movies all day. But my dad won't watch anything animated. I brought up Predator Killer of Killers, and he's like, I don't want to watch that. Instead we watched Mr. 3000 and The Beast Within with Kit Harrington, and those both sucked. So, and then I came home and watched Pure Street Prom Queen, which sucked. So yeah, I need a good movie. I need to break this streak.
Yeah, please go watch this. It's really awesome. It's not super long either. And I think I know where they're going with this idea that apparently there's a secret Predator movie that Dan Trachtengerg is working on that they haven't announced yet.
Yeah.
And I think I know what it's going to be.
Did you shot?
I think I know where the end of this and the end of Predator.
Oh, okay.
I think I know where they're going to go with it.
All right. Let me watch it, then we can talk about it.
I think you'll have a good idea too. And I'm really excited if where I think they're going is right. So yeah,
okay.
Please check that out.
I'll have to.
But I mean, shockingly, like the Predator and Alien franchise seem to be in better hands now with Disney than they ever were before.
Yeah.
It's like
you guys screwed up Star Wars, but your R-rated franchises you're gonna do okay with? Okay, whatever.
Yeah. I mean, nothing but good stuff out of them so far for those two franchises. And I think that's great for them. So having watched this, I'm like, I'm really excited about Predator Badlands now.
Yeah.
And seeing predicting where they're going with that one.
I do like how you point out the one scene in the trailer where the girl's eye flashes to Wayland Yutani. I'm like, not a reason why they're doing that.
Yeah. What I think is interesting is, so they dropped that Alien Earth trailer too.
Mm-hmm, which was cool.
And in that trailer, they talk about how there's like, I think it says 5. They picked up 5 deadly creatures from around the galaxy. And I swear to God, I heard a predator in that trailer, like a sound of a predator. Now, if they put a predator in that show, that will be wild, wouldn't it?
It will be. It would be. That'd be awesome.
I think what's interesting is, like, so I rewatched Predator 2 over the weekend because I was you know what, I'm in the mood to watch this now. And there's that scene where you see all like the heads on the wall, and they have like a duplicate of that in the Predator Badlands trailer. And it's just interesting that I almost feel like Disney is like, you know what, they get to play with in the toy box of all these other creatures from these other franchises, and they don't have to ingrain them. Like it doesn't mean they're in the same continuity. It just means that those aliens exist in this universe. You know, it's just like if you saw a deer in this movie and a deer in that movie. You know, it doesn't mean they're in the same continuity. It just means those creatures exist in both worlds.
Right.
And that kind of seems like what they're going for. There's like a T-Rex head on the wall. Did you see that?
I did.
Yeah.
I remember that.
It's really cool. So
Was there a critter?
I don't know.
I feel like there's a critter. My 10-year-old brain might have just made that up.
The only ones that I can like clearly tell is that there was a dinosaur and there was what
Xenomorph.
looks like the alien from Independence Day.
Yes, that's right too. Which is weird because that movie came out later, but
yeah.
Well, no, you're talking about the Badlands trailer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was talking about Predator 2. I got you.
Oh yeah, well there is an alien trailer or head on that wall. And that's what I think is interesting is that doesn't necessarily mean this is in the same continuity as all the Aliens movies. You know, they kind of disagree with each other a little bit.
Oh yeah.
But it just means that creature is in that universe and it's in this universe, you know? Yeah, I love that they're doing that. So I'm really excited about all that.
Very cool. Yeah, I'll have to watch it. Maybe I'll watch it tonight.
Please, you should. Yeah, the only other thing I watched is I finally finished Andor.
I need to watch that.
Season 2. It was phenomenal, man. It was really, really, really awesome. You need to watch that. It's like the best I think Star Wars has been since the originals.
Of the most recent Star Wars, I liked Rogue One. You said this is closer to Rogue One than anything else, so feels like I'd like it.
It's better than Rogue One. Having watched the whole thing now, I rewatched Rogue One afterwards, and I was just like, man, this is so good. It almost makes Rogue One look bad.
Dang.
Like it really is so good. They play the espionage and the like what it's like to be a spy during a war like this. They play it so well, and the performances and the writing and the dialogue. You know, they have each character kind of gets a monologue at least once through the whole thing, and all of them are so great. So I highly recommend that one for you.
I'll have to check that out as well. Yeah, I might as well talk about it for just a second. As I told you, we watched The Beast Within with Kit Harrington as well, and boring, absolutely boring movie. Like just kind of mind-numbingly boring at times. And
I watched a trailer for that, and I was like, I'm not interested in this.
Yeah, weirdly paced. My mom likes watching Kit Harrington movies. Make of that what you will. But yeah, literally, like, it's an hour and a half long. There's probably about a 15-minute cool kind of like hide and seek scene with like a werewolf, and then the rest of it's just kind of ass and boring. So yeah, you can skip that one too. Yeah.
Sarah Bauer watched that, and like, I don't remember what she said about it. Kind of felt like she enjoyed it, but she might not have.
I'll message her later.
Yeah, she did watch it though. I know.
Seems like a Sarah Bauer kind of movie.
Okay, let's jump into the news.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so first big thing that happened was that Blumhouse has acquired the rights to Saw. They acquired the Saw franchise from Twisted Pictures, which gives James Wan creative control of the franchise once again after he created it with the first Saw. Now
that's really cool.
Blumhouse and Atomic Monster have merged.
That's really cool. I didn't hear that.
Yeah, that was big news that came out over the weekend. So that's really cool. I really want to see what they do with that, you know, because I think that there's a lot of good that can come from it. I mean, personally, I didn't watch the most recent one, but
Saw
I
10?
didn't really like any of them after the third one. I like the first three.
Yeah, I think they kind of just merged after that point. And there's the Chris Rock one I watched, and it was not good and it's completely forgettable.
Yeah, him and Samuel L. Jackson were in that. Yeah, I didn't watch that actually.
Yeah, it's as I said, I watched it, and then
the reviews.
I watched it, and if you put a gun to my head, I can tell you, like, Chris Rock says some things that are supposed to be funny, but they're not, and then that's it. That's all I remember.
Looks confused.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was like, why am I in a movie in 2018?
Yeah, I didn't see that one, but Yeah, it'll be interesting. I think if that had been more successful, we would have gotten more things out of like spin-off style things like that in the same universe, but it wasn't. But yeah, hopefully James Wan and Blumhouse there, I hope they all do something really cool with the franchise now.
I hope so too. Because as you said, Twisted Pictures sold it. What does Twisted Pictures have left? Obviously, they didn't think there's anything left in the tank after the most recent movies.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, money's always money, so you can't mess with money.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a hard time for studios out there lately. So maybe they were just in need of cash. Yeah. And I'm willing to bet that Blumhouse paid some good money for it.
Yeah, they're still doing all right. Blumhouse. They need to make Happy Death Day 3. That's what I want them to do.
I think they are. I think that is in the works. Yeah. I don't know if you saw this, but another big piece of news that was in over the weekend that is about movie rights is that a bidding war is happening for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre rights.
I saw that.
So some of the creatives and companies involved are, first off, Jordan Peele and Monkeypaw are doing a pitch.
Nice.
And then, out of left field, Taylor Sheridan and Paramount are doing a pitch.
Okay.
And then Oz Perkins and Neon are doing a pitch.
Okay.
And then Glen Powell and A24, that's one that's been being rumored for a month or two now. And then Netflix is apparently in the mix as well.
Well, they did the last one, right? Netflix did?
Yeah. They did, like, just Texas Chainsaw Massacre or whatever.
Yeah, which...
And I think they're hosting a few of the movies on their platform, too.
Right. Enough of that. Like, you need to have a title. It's like Texas Chainsaw Massacre something. Like, we've had the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, we've had Texas Chainsaw Massacre, we've had the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Enough of that. There's
one that's, like, just Texas Chainsaw, too, right?
Yeah, they dropped the Massacre. I think you're right.
Yeah.
You gotta figure out your naming, guys. Come on.
2 Texas, 2 Chainsaw. Chainsaw 7.
You got me with that one.
Yeah, so I think, I had posted something about this on Threads. I had done a poll, and let me see where everybody landed on this. Oh my god, it tied.
Nice.
So I asked, it's being reported that the Texas Chainsaw Massacre rights were up for grabs with multiple parties in discussion doing pitches. Who would be your first choice? It is a tie between Jordan Peele and Monkeypaw and Oz Perkins and Neon. A tie between those two.
Those would be my two.
After that came Glen Powell and A24, followed by Taylor Sheridan and Paramount. What's interesting about that is I think Taylor Sheridan and Paramount have a great chance of getting these rights.
Yeah.
Because A, they have a great working relationship. The two of them do. So they've got in the middle of so many different franchises right now. It would also probably mean it'd be a show, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because that's what Taylor Sheridan's mostly doing for them right now. But B, because of all those things, Yellowstone and all the Yellowstone spinoffs, Landman, Lioness, all of those things, they have a ton of money. And, it's worth saying that, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Taylor Sheridan knows how to write, Western grit, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And that's kind of what this needs. He hasn't done a horror movie yet. That's where he comes untested, but he knows how to build a franchise and he knows how to do Southern grit. Which,
I mean, if he's going to pick a franchise to do horror in, then Texas Chainsaw is basically right up the alley.
Yeah. So I don't think it's as crazy of an idea as some might think.
I think all those are decent options too. Like, there's not one I'm like, that sounds like crap. It's not like Tom Cruise is trying to do it or something. No offense to Tom Cruise, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. I have to admit, I was surprised not to see Blumhouse on this list, but
at a certain point, you can't have everything.
They just took Saw, Yeah. I'm sure that they need to recover from spending a bunch of money on the Saw franchise before they go buying another one here.
I mean, they have
how lucrative this one could be.
They have Halloween in the back burner still, right? In case they ever want to touch that property again.
Yeah, I think they do. Yeah.
I don't know if they want to have two slashers in the building. Saw's not really a slasher. It's a torture porn kind of movie.
Well, and I think that the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, it remains to be seen whether there's anything left in the tank of that
That's true.
franchise. You know, audience-wise, they haven't really made a good one in a while here. You know,
The Jessica Biel one was fun. I think this last
but that was 15 years ago.
Let's not talk about how long ago it was.
You know, I think that was more than 15 years ago. That was 2003,
It was
right?
2003, yeah, it was.
That was 22 years ago.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, let's not talk about that.
I was in high school when that came out.
Let's not talk about
But I think that
I was
Jordan
too.
Peele and Monkeypaw, like, obviously they know how to make a good horror movie.
Mhm.
It remains to be seen whether they know how to build a franchise.
Right.
And I think that's one of the things here is that, like, you know, whoever's selling this, I don't know the intricacies of it. Like, I don't know if it's one of those things where you get the rights for a certain period of time and you pay out some of the profits to somebody else, you know?
I would think.
Kind of like how Spyglass has, they're basically leasing the rights to the Scream franchise right now.
Right.
And so it's in the best interest for, in many cases, for the seller to be like, hey, tell me what you're going to do with this, because if you're successful, I'm successful, type thing, you know?
Yeah, absolutely right.
I don't think Glen Powell and A24, I don't know if they land this. You know, it remains to be seen whether they've tried to shift their strategy into more franchise-style things, so it seems like they would probably really want to do it. But I don't know, they haven't had a ton of success since they made that shift, too. You know?
Well, yeah, you're right.
Oz Perkins and Neon, I really think they could really make a great one. Now, whether they can franchise it, that still remains to be seen too, right?
No.
I think that's the hardest part here of the whole thing is I think Taylor Sheridan would probably have the most success franchising it and making prolonged money out of it because that's like his thing.
The other ones have more potential to be elite.
More horror.
Yeah. Yes. Pedigree.
Yeah. I think Oz Perkins could really make a cool version, though, right?
Yeah, I think so too.
That's one of the cool things too about the idea of Jordan Peele and Oz Perkins, is that they are kind of like they go hand in hand. You know, Jordan Peele more than anybody because he runs the studio; it's his studio, and he's also a creative. You know, so that's something you really get that's good out of that idea, is that. You know, he's going to be guiding this from point A to point wherever. Oz Perkins and Neon do have I think they have a first look deal together, so Neon gets to choose whether they take whatever he does at this point.
Which is smart.
That's a cool relationship that they have going. Yeah.
That's
we'll
really
see
cool.
where that goes. I think it's a developing thing. We'll see. And yeah, final thing, Alien Earth full trailer finally. What do you think about that?
I was pumped after I watched it. I'm so excited for it. I watched it with my dad yesterday, and he's like, "Oh, more aliens crap." I'm like, "Yes, more aliens crap. It's great."
You're like, first of all, keep it coming.
Yes, keep it all coming. And so I'm pumped up for it. Really excited. It's not far off. Can't wait to watch it.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. It's interesting that they're having a whole team of synthetics go in to kind of, hunt them, and it looks like Timothy Olyphant is going to be one of them, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the leader of them.
I would assume.
Yeah. But yeah, that looks really awesome. I hope they do it kind of like Monster of the Week style.
Yeah.
But if there's one thing that comes from this, I hope it's that we just get more monsters in this universe. This is how you do it. This is how you introduce something and try things, and you're going to have one xenomorph, right? You get 4 different creatures to bring in here to try something with. That's 4 bites at the apple.
No.
That you can just try something different.
My popcorn fell.
If something sticks, great. Make a movie with that. Whatever it is. Dive deeper into that.
My friend, This is the time for them to go pull out the old Kenner action figures book from the early 90s and give us some of those things. Give us the bull alien. Give us gorilla alien. I know they probably won't, but that's my ultimate wish.
I think they will, right?
You got it, right? That's the idea, I think.
They showed a scorpion in the trailer, and I kept wondering, I was like, well, a facehugger can't get on a scorpion, but can they somehow figure this out?
In the Kenner action figures line, there's a scorpion alien.
Was there?
There was. He had they all had like special things. That one just exploded. You pushed the button in the middle and he exploded. And his parts went anywhere and you lost those parts. At least I did. I lost his right arm for like the entire... I think the first day I had I lost his right arm. Because that's what happens.
Well, if they had then they're probably going to do it, right?
I think it's all pointing towards it. So I'm just hopeful that they don't blue ball us on this. Or at least me, I should say. Yeah.
But I guess that's the cool thing, right? If they did it like Monster of the Week style, they could have an episode for each of these unique monsters going into it.
Exactly.
But then they could have another episode on the different types of aliens that are created from the initial facehuggers or whatever. So like it could be like episode 1, E.T., episode 2, Predator, episode 3, Gooey Monster, I don't know. You know, and then 4, and then you know, eventually it's like, all right, episode 5, facehuggers and regular alien. Episode 6, Scorpion Alien. Episode 7, Gorilla Alien.
Yeah.
Episode 8,
Bull Alien.
I don't know. Yeah.
I want that one. That was my favorite as a kid,
That's
the Bull Alien. Yeah.
Yeah. I hope they do something like that. Like, just give us as many different kinds of version of this as we can get.
It's a way to print money, man. Yeah. Like, we've all seen the classic Xenomorph design. It's perfect. It really is. But you can put that into other things, like, as I know, I keep bringing it back. Like, I can see the Kenner action figures from where I'm sitting, 2 of them, and just give us that.
One.
Huh? You the gorilla one?
The ape one.
Nice. I have a Hicks and the Cougar alien. So Hicks isn't even part of it, but he is.
Oh yeah. Well, and now, so I told you, Michael Biehn is in this new Predator show, so that means he's up there with the crew. The small list of people that have been in Alien movie, a Predator movie, and a Terminator movie. That's a very small list.
Very small list.
Hendrickson and Bill Paxton.
Bill Paxton, yep.
So I 100% feel like Dan Trachtenberg put him in this movie solely to put him on that list.
I hope so.
100%. I guarantee that's why he put him in this.
I still want him to go back and undo the beginning of Alien 3. I think they don't got much time to do it. They got to do it if they want to do it.
Yeah.
That's such a punch in the face.
I have to figure they will.
Such a punch in the face.
Yeah.
Did you hear him? He said in an interview about they're talking about Hicks's fate in those movies, and he said it was freaking stupid or something along those lines.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I still haven't watched that Aliens Expanded documentary that I got.
Oh, nice. That's just real good.
For a rainy day when I'm like, just putting together I don't know.
Every day's raining here, my friend. Every day's raining here, my friend. I'm just gonna grow gills and go swim in the river.
There you go.
Like the lake, like Silver Lake, the docks and stuff. They're all under. Like a lot of them are underwater. That's how high the water is.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awful.
But thunderstorms tomorrow. Thunderstorms Thursday. You'll be fine.
Yeah, it's good. You're good.
Okay. I also want to point out that another piece of news was that Samara Weaving and Kathryn Newton posted that Ready or Not 2 has has wrapped filming. So
nice.
Pumped about that.
Ready or Not 2, Here I Come.
Yep. So I'm pumped about that. I'm excited for that because I am a huge fan of Ready or Not.
Yeah. Yeah, and Radio Silence and both of those actresses. Yeah, I think that's a recipe for success right there.
Right.
I was looking at the old VHS movie the other day and just realizing how stacked that original movie was. It's basically made by Radio Silence and David Bruckner.
Yeah.
Like, David Bruckner did one segment and Radio Silence did like the other 3.
Yeah. I'm gonna try to get Holly to watch those. I've been meaning for her to watch them. I think she'll enjoy them. Getting her more and more.
It's really good. David Bruckner's his one with Amateur Night with the
Siren. Succubus. That's so good.
That's probably my favorite.
It's one of my favorite little horror segments from an anthology ever. They did a spin-off movie which I bought at Goodwill for like $3, and I've been meaning to watch it. I just haven't got to it.
You still haven't watched it?
Still haven't watched it. Don't know why.
Yeah. But yeah, did you have physical media?
Yes, I did have one piece of physical media. It was on sale on Amazon. It's just the Blu-ray, but it's in a steelbook, and it is Tucker and Dale vs. Evil. So yeah,
awesome.
Yeah, it's got like a comic book cover, It's just the basic steelbook. I mean, not steelbook. Sorry, the basic Blu-ray. Yes, if you know the movie, you understand the significance of that. But yeah,
I love that movie.
I do too. And basic Blu-ray, but it's got the cool, like not art house. Sorry, comic book cover. And yeah, I was happy to grab this for a few bucks.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's a good find.
Yeah, love that movie.
I have not bought anything in the last couple of weeks here.
I haven't. Tombstone and that movie were like the only things I bought since we've gotten into this whole house thing because I'm trying to save my money.
Yeah, I've got a bunch of things. Like any one of these days, I'll have stuff I've pre-ordered that'll start arriving, but I haven't gotten anything new lately.
Yeah, I got my Marvel RPG game, but I didn't want to show that off. I feel like that's not really part of this show.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's all I got for the week. You got anything else?
I'm all good, my friend.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining us for this week's episode. Dan, thank you so much for joining us this week.
Of course.
And next week is our top 10 favorite movies of 2013.
Whoop, whoop.
And I've been curating that list for a few weeks now. I think I actually got it pretty well established already.
Right.
Yeah, I think I'm good. I started using my Letterboxd account to create these lists, and I can just easily move things around on it. Super easy. Highly recommend that.
You mean opposed to this?
Yeah. You're just scribbling things out.
This looks like an insane person's
putting arrows. This one goes here.
Yeah. This looks if police found this, there'd be a lot of questions. They're like, what does any of this mean?
Yeah, so please join us next week for that. It's going to be a lot of fun. We really, really enjoy those top 10 lists. So
really do.
It's going to be a fun episode.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, and we'll see you next week.